This is Continuum Drag, a podcast where we watch sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between. This week, Night Slaves.
My name is Noel. I'm using this simply as a convenience to talk to you. Frankly, I find it cumbersome, time-consuming, and not a little disgusting. You've caused me quite a bit of annoyance, Mr. Howard.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast rewatching the Tommyknockers. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Yeah, I was going to say, we said Night Slaves, but I'm pretty sure we just watched Tommyknockers, didn't we?
We absolutely just rewatched the Tommyknockers.
I mean, we'll go through this, and I'm sure we'll mention it multiple times through this, but it's insane how, if you just looked on a piece of paper of two synopses, these are the exact same thing.
It blew my mind.
I had no idea when I picked it. I had no idea.
I was also just watching, like, is this the Tommyknot? And everything is just the same. I'm like, this is insane.
It's so crazy.
But in fact,
if I had known, we could have done a compare and contrast and watched the two back to back.
In fact, we are watching the 1970 TV movie Night Slaves, which itself is actually based on a novel of the same name from 1965. So like Tommyknockers was based on Stephen King's novel, this is based on a different novel.
Jerry Soule. Were you aware of him at all?
Not aware of him, no.
No.
And it is from the creative team behind Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It's got the same director and star of the movie released the exact same year.
Yeah. James Franciscus playing Clay Howard. By the way, Clay Howard's a great name. Great name for a character.
But this ran on ABC as part of their Movie of the Week series on September 29th, 1970. And in the year of 1970, Jordan, we watched one series and one TV movie before. Can you figure out, do you know what that series was that we watched? I can give you a hint if you like.
Yeah, give me a hint.
There were actually, in 1970, 2 seasons of the series actually ran that in 1970. So we watched 2 seasons of this series.
I don't know why I thought The Sixth Sense, but it's not The Sixth Sense.
You want one more hint?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we couldn't remember the name of this series.
Oh my goodness, I still can't remember. Just tell me.
It was Death Watch.
Oh. Which one was that?
That's that British series where they lost all the tapes to it, but it was the one where they were they were that ministry that looked into future technologies that might destroy the world.
That's right. That's right. Neither of us can remember. I hope that was all left in.
I'm sure it's all still in the episode. And the TV movie, Jordan, it actually, the one that aired in 1970 along with Night Slaves, it actually aired 3 weeks after Night Slaves was on TV.
And what was it?
You don't want to guess what the TV movie might have been from 1970?
You know what's funny? I want to say Kolchak at first, but I think Kolchak came out quite a bit after that, huh?
Yeah, and that's not a TV movie. So.
No, I know it's not a TV movie either. Let's say...
All right, do you want one hint?
Yeah.
It is another Stephen King-esque TV movie.
Black Noon.
Das Millienspiel.
Oh, Das Millienspiel. Oh, right, because Running Man.
So
well done. Yeah.
Very, very similar in that sense as well. So those are the 2 things we watched from 1970. And before we get into Jordan, I just wanted to note that this was, I take this with a grain of salt. Who knows it's true? But the tagline for Night Slaves on IMDb is, "Morning brings denials of a whole town's mysterious night journey." I was like, that is.
What?
I'm like, I can't wait. You're sitting, you see a poster at the movie at the video store. You're like, "Morning brings denials. I can't wait to see what these denials are."
It sort of does in this. It sort of does bring denials.
That's basically the show. Yeah. So let's get into it anyway.
Yeah.
We've putzed around enough. Here's the IMDb summary for Night Slaves. A man and his wife find themselves stranded in a small western town. He discovers that a strange force has turned the residents into zombies and runs into a beautiful woman who he believes is the key to the mystery.
That's sort of it. So we start on this guy driving, and I say this about him. He's a great looking lead guy. He's handsome. He's like tall, dark, and handsome. He's just like,
Got it all.
Yeah, he's got it all. Does he have a sense of humor? Probably not. But he's driving the car. That's where we start. And he's, but it's intercut with him sort of basically going, like, he's out. this business he has.
What does he do? What does he do? I couldn't figure that out.
It's not clear. It's not clear at all.
He's done being successful. He's done with materialism.
Yes, he's a businessman, Luke, and he doesn't want to be a businessman anymore. He's like, you know what? I'm tired with this business. I'm tired of being a businessman. I'm tired of you as a businessman, and I'm leaving. So that's intercutting with him driving. He gets in a car accident, which I love that they mention make a note later. It wasn't his fault, by the way. It was the car. It wasn't his fault that he got in a car accident, which was such a weird. I'm like, well, car accidents happen. Like it's not like the viewer would suddenly assume, oh, he's a terrible, terrible man because he got in a car accident. But they have to have that line. So right away we go to him like getting wheeled to surgery. His wife is there at the hospital because we're gonna find out that he has this, he's been injured and they put a steel plate in his head, which is exactly like Tommy Knockers.
It's true. Lead character got a steel plate in his head after an accident. I will also say, this accident, I missed the part where they said it wasn't his fault, but that makes sense because he killed 2 people in the accident. So
he kills 2 people. Oh, you know what? You're right. That's why they have to mention it because, but why did they even do that? Why? Because like later on, it's almost like he's supposed to be like feeling bad about it. And he's like, he has a line. He's like, I can't believe I killed those people. It's like, but if you want to make the point that he's not a bad guy, just have had like him have an accident. He drives into a pole and no one gets hurt. And they don't even have to add that line. And why'd they have to have him kill people? It's not like it became the crux for all his actions.
No, that's the thing. The killing of people is pretty, like, he's not even that guilty over it. Like, when we meet him, he's like, I want to basically, I believe they call it drop out later, basically of capitalism's life. He doesn't want to live this life anymore. He's dropping out. And in that scene, he's like, when he has the car, he's like, I picked up my wife and we're going for a drink so I can tell her I'm dropping out. Has his car accident, kills 2 people, barely affects him. Also, his wife was in that car and she's just walking next to him. Yeah. He's got to get a metal plate in his head. He killed 2 people. She just walked out of that accident. No problem.
No problem. But maybe because she's got a little secret, which we learn in the hospital, she is having an affair with his old partner businessman. Matt, who's also a businessman, but he still likes business and being part of businessman.
Okay, I think I know now because very, very, very late in this TV movie, Matt shows up and he's like, I'm a lawyer. And I was like, you are? So I guess.
Oh, is he really?
He just shows up. He's like, I'm a lawyer, but it has nothing. I'm just like, so, like, that's all. And he sits down. He's not involved in the rest of the episode. He just walks in, states he's a lawyer, and then he just sits down in the corner for 15 minutes.
Well, the important thing is, and I don't know how well this kind of works, but basically what you have is that his wife, like, because he sort of says to her, this guy Matt sort of says to his wife at the hospital, which I love, by the way, she's just been in this horrible accident. Her husband is literally getting brain. Yeah, she's fine. Her husband's getting brain surgery. 2 people have been killed, and he's like, he comes to see her at the hospital. She's obviously distraught, and he's like, so did you tell him about us? I was like, pick your shots, man. This is a bad time for it. But obviously, to let the audience know they're having this affair, she was going to tell him that they were having an affair, but then now this accident's happened, which is actually pretty interesting for a TV show. Their marriage is not going well. They're not really in love anymore. They're sort of going through the motions, but now they've had this dramatic thing happen. How is this going to affect not only their relationship, but also this now relationship on the side? It's an interesting balancing act. I just don't know how much the show actually cares about, investing any time in that.
For sure. I mean, that's basically it. Is like now she has to stick around for his recovery as she doesn't want to end the marriage while he's in recovery. And the movie basically begins after this. Like, this is very quick. It's like 5 minutes setting this whole thing up. And Jordan, let's say you were in a car accident. It was bad enough to kill 2 people and so much head trauma that you needed a steel plate put in your head. How much time has passed before you're able to drive a car to go on a little vacation with your wife? Like,
I'd say probably like that afternoon, the next day.
Like, it seems to be that much time. I'm like, this is 3 years of recovery have passed. Like, how much? Like, they don't say. They're just like, now they're going on vacation to help us recover. I'm like, so this is 3 years later. Like, there's no way this man's driving a car.
It looks as if it's the next day.
He has, and they put no effort into giving him any scars, so he just like looks exactly like he looked the whole time. So it looks like he's healed so well. The plastic surgery has set in. He has no motor control issues anymore. He's doing great. It's like 3 years later essentially.
Well, I like though because almost the next scene after the hospital is that him and his wife driving, and she's like, "Are you sure you should be driving? You've like literally just come out of the OR. You just had brain surgery. He's like, listen, woman, I'm a man. I'm driving this car. I'm fine. Brain surgery or no, we're all good. And I just thought that was pretty delightful.
Anyway, he's driving. They're like going nowhere specifically. But they're like going through California, and he's like, "Hey, let's pull over in this small town of Eldred, California, to grab something to eat and maybe spend the night." There aren't many people in this town. They imply there's like a quick scene in a diner where someone implies she's moving away. The idea, I think, maybe there's not much work left. People are leaving the town.
Yeah.
Really, the only people around are like a diner, a sheriff, and the local country bumpkin Beanie, who will fondle your car's headlights for you.
That was weird. But I'm going to say one thing before we get into Beanie. Is there's a scene that becomes a thing later where he notices he first comes in town and the guy working the gas station is just taking a nap. And he's like, that's weird. In this small town, this guy's taking a nap. And as someone who currently lives in a small town, that's not weird.
Pretty normal.
That's not weird at all.
Normal.
It's pretty normal. I wouldn't bat an eye if I went up to a cashier and they were sleeping. It's not a big deal.
But the biggest reveal of the episode is the sheriff walks in to say that Beanie was fondling his headlights, and it's Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. And it's weird because obviously Leslie Nielsen had a career playing roles before Airplane, I think, was his first comedic role. And we're all so used to him as that, as Frank Drebin and the Naked Gun movies and that sort of thing. But it's so funny to see him be serious because you keep waiting for him. You're like, come on, say something funny. But it's a pretty serious role. But back to Beanie. So Beanie, they're just like, yeah, no big deal. Because the sheriff comes in and he's like, hey, so I turned your headlights off and on your car. And the guy's like, what? Clay's like, oh, why would my headlights be on? He's like, oh yeah, we got this weirdo in town. He likes turning people's headlights on in their cars. Anyways, no big deal. You're like, that's weird. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's weird.
It's very odd.
Weirder than the guy. It's weirder than the guy napping in the gas station.
At any rate, they have a little lunch and they're like, let's go get in this place to stay at the quote Seaside Inn. There's no sea here. This is quite clearly an old West town they're using.
And not only is that, it's not an inn, as I noted. It is very clearly just some B&B. It's like some.
It's just a house
old
that was on a
lady's
lot
house.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, ignoring all of that, they tuck in for the night, and suddenly a sound wakes Clay up, and he goes and looks, and all of the townspeople are up in the middle of the night.
We mentioned like their destination in particular, but like, where did he get his surgery? And where was he driving that he had the car accident? So thus, then where did he have the surgery? How far are they away from where they live? I was just like, why are they driving? Like, it seemed bizarre, like these questions, like just like geographically, where are they right now?
They just say, I think they were probably in LA when they had the accident, maybe San Francisco, I don't know. But basically, they're just like, hey, we're going on a vacation to help your recovery. We're driving through California. That's the only information we get. And then they're just like, they're driving aimlessly through California.
Yeah. So anyways, that was just me being like, none of this makes sense. But yes, he sees a bunch of people up at night. They're kind of getting into the back of sort of like a flatbed pickup truck and going somewhere.
And his wife is missing, and he realizes she's also getting in this flatbed truck. And he's like, what's happening? And in the room with him is a strange woman watching him. Naila, something like that. Naila, I think is her name.
And she thinks it is the funniest thing she has ever seen. She's like, she can't get enough of it, that he's in the room and she's down there, his wife, and she's not responding and she's going off. Here's the thing. Obviously, she just keeps laughing, and it's like one of those where like, why is she finding it funny? And then she like disappears. But like, knowing what we know from now to the end of the movie, we've seen it. Why was she in the room laughing?
No idea.
Yeah, it made no sense. Other than, wouldn't it be creepy if like a woman was in your room laughing and then disappeared? You're like, yeah, I guess so. But like, why? Like, there's no reason.
I mean, plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, no sense at all. Anyway, he runs down to try to get his wife, but the truck drives off. So he runs around the deserted town, and no one's there. Yeah. The prison cells are empty. Everyone's gone. And he's just like, boy, oh boy, I've got a headache. I'm going to go back to bed. So he does.
Yeah. So yeah, he goes around the whole town, and everything is like unlocked. Like, stores are unlocked. The jail cells are unlocked. Everything's unlocked, and he's just like, this is so weird. There's no one around. It's abandoned, and my wife's gone. Anyways, I'm going to go back to bed. You're like, what? So he goes back to bed.
And in the morning, he wakes up and everything's back to normal. His wife's there.
Yeah.
Everyone he talks to says they don't remember anything from that night.
And then they do the worst trope, and I hate this when I see it on TV, where they're like, something incredibly weird or odd or memorable has happened in someone's life, and the next day they go, maybe it was a dream. And I'm watching the TV going like, have you ever had a dream? Like, you know the difference. Even like a lucid dream or a very realistic dream, you know the difference. Never in anyone's life would they have a huge traumatic thing happen and then go, guess it was just a dream. It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't think it was just a dream.
Well, this is the part where you could use the metal plate to like have him have previous episodes or something to like give him that.
Or pass out or something.
They don't do that at all. They're not like, it has nothing to do with metal plate. He just is like.
Yeah. They could have like played with the audience to be like, I don't know, had done something while he passed out or something, and then be like, maybe he did see things. Maybe this was his dream, or do it in some way where you're not quite sure. But then they give it away right away because he's like, he goes to his wife and he's like, you went away last night and blah, blah, blah. You know, I saw this. And she's like, no, I didn't. Stop being weird and stuff. But then like immediately he finds like, I think it's like something's on her shoe or something,
burrs.
right?
There are
he's
burrs on her dress that are on the truck outside. So he's just like, oh, something is real. Well, you know, there's that, and they're really nappy. So he also knows that's mysterious. Everyone's kind of sleepy.
That's right.
They want to nap.
He knows. Everyone's a little bit tired. If there's ever been a sign for something's hinky, it's everyone's a little bit tuckered out.
I want to say something too, is that like these people, they appear to work all night long. They would be useless the next day. Like everyone would not be nappy. They would be useless.
Yeah, and they would be like kind of grumpy and not sure why they're feeling this way. And everyone would be just like off their game. But yeah, it's just like, as we know, everyone is now going off, working all night, doing what we're going to learn, like manual labor. They're working hard and then just going back to their life. It's you just have to sort of go like, okay, sure.
He sees these burrs on his wife's stuff. He kind of sees something's going on, and he just flies off the handle at that point.
Luke, her clothes are also they've been haphazardly put on like a chair, and she always folds.
Yeah, I know. That was this causes him, like, before this he's like, maybe it was all a dream, but these like clues cause him to fly off the handle, and he starts screaming at the innkeeper. He's like,
yeah,
I saw you walking without your cane last night. What is like, his wife's just like, dude, cool it. Why are you yelling at the innkeeper? Like, I was just like, he's out of control, this man. I don't like this.
So yes, we did see the older lady who is renting them a room using a cane when we meet her, and then when we saw her going onto the truck, she's not using a cane. I'm going to ask you, Luke, why?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
nothing about what's happening in this movie would require like she would still have.
There wasn't a reason. It wasn't like, I'm just gonna say, you're not gonna find out she's an alien or she had superpowers or anything. No, there's no reason she wasn't using her cane.
No,
she should have been limping.
Anyway, Clay now refuses to leave the town. He wants to see if it happens again that night. So he locks them in their room so his wife can't get out. And sure enough, as night falls, the town gets up and tries to get back on those trucks again. And his wife's banging on the door trying to get out. And the whole town busts in and like rescues his wife to put her on the truck and like holds Clay down to a bed.
And we should say she's not acting normal. She's clearly in a trance.
Yeah.
She's sort of like, her focus is, I got to get out of this room, and he's trying to stop her, but she's not responding. Yeah, I got to get on the truck.
Anyway, he goes back out of the town to see if he can find some clues, and he finds this Nail again, who is the only one left behind, and he asks her for explanations, and like she like hems and haws for a while, annoyingly, and then finally she kind of just is like, oh yeah, no, I'm just an alien consciousness who's taken over this body.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm a technician for Noel, and I was like, sorry, the person leading this, their name is Noel.
Yes. Noel is her overlord. She is just a lowly technician who is not permitted to fall in love and get married.
Yeah. This probably is my favorite part of the whole show. So it's one of those things where, like, I'll say this thing moves fast to like it doesn't make sense how fast it's moving, because it's like stuff happens and he's like, I notice people are going out at night. Then he's like, I'm staying up at night. Then he meets the lady. She's like, oh, I'm a technician alien thing for this guy.
I'm
and
a
he's
consciousness
like, what?
in a body.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, that's a lot to take it. And then he's like, yeah, I'm pretty attracted to you. And she's like, yeah, well, the overlords tell me I can't have children. And I was like, so, is this a romantic scene? Is that what we're having right now?
They're totally having a weird meet cute where they're just like, yeah, we basically borrow everyone's bodies at night to go out into the world, and I stay behind for reasons they're never like. Why? Her job is she is some sort of like semi like it appears in their hierarchy. She's definitely below an overlord and not and like kind of like doesn't have rights in her set. Like she can't get married, she can't fall in love, blah blah. But her job is technician. Should she not? Why? I just don't understand why she just left to wander the town.
Yeah, why is she not there with them building? Because we're going to see what they're working on, and then why is she left in town? And why does she find it hilarious that he's awake watching his wife like sleepwalk away? None of it really makes any sense, or what her motivation is, or anything.
Well, and then they're like, he's just like, well, let's go to wherever you take the people every night. He's like, oh, we'll walk there. It can't be that far. She's like, I wouldn't do that. And he walks, and very much like Tommyknockers, he bumps into a force field. But unlike most force fields you would see in this kind of thing, when he walks into it, it's like he walks into like a low-hanging overhead light. Like his lower body keeps going, but he just hits his head on something. I'm just like, that's not a force field. Like he just hits his head on something, and then but his body keeps walking through the force field. And he's just like, oh, what was that? And she's like, it's a force field. I'm like, well, it's clearly not a force field. But and then also, force field never comes back up. It never comes back up.
No, I know. It never comes back up. It was just for that one scene. So you're like, oh, I guess he can't leave. But like what does it matter? Would it matter if he'd left?
Well, and then,
why put a force field? You already control everyone. Why do you need the force field?
I don't know. And anyway, and now they have like they have their real meet cute because she's just basically like, I also wish to drop out of the alien rat race. So it's like sure.
Well, she's a businesswoman in doing alien business.
And she's tired of it. She'd like to drop out. Like, I'm just like, it makes a little more sense for her because she appears to be like slave adjacent. But then she's just like, yeah, we could drop out together. There's actually a special planet where dropouts go just to hang out, and it's super chill. It's really cool. Anyone can go. I'm just like, so are you not? I thought you were like the Overlord's underling. So like, but you could quit anytime you want.
The more important thing is that they've had this meet cute. That I like that he's like still trying to find evidence of stuff, and he finds out that one of the truck's speedometers has changed. He's like, look, you did drive, and his wife has to make some sort of like argument for it, but it's really just so they can get into argument about how they don't love one another anymore and how they would have been divorced, like we said from the beginning, which is obviously really to let them both off the hook. You as a viewer, like I hope she goes and gets together with the guy she's having an affair with, and also he's now free to explore this relationship with this alien
cheating
woman.
On anybody. It's totally cool. It's totally cool for him to have an affair with this alien consciousness in a 16-year-old's body.
Yeah, I like that at one point when she's like he's an alien and stuff. He's like, look, I'll say it right off the now. I'm attracted to you, but I'm married. So like, or I'm not going further than this, but let me just tell you, I'm pretty attracted to you. I'm like, you're right on the line, my friend.
You're attracted to someone else's body and a weird brain inside of it. I don't know if this is correct. Anyway, his wife calls up her lover Matt and says, "Get down here." And he's just like, "Okay, I will. I'll need 2 nights though, so you'll have to stick around for plot reasons."
Is that what he said?
Well, he's just like, I'll be there in 2 days. I'm like, okay, so that means he'll get here on the second night. I guess we need to stick around for like I could just like you can just like guess I got 2 nights before we finish this.
Yeah, but Leslie Nielsen shows up, and he's asking about a missing woman.
2 missing women.
2 missing women. Yeah.
One of the town's men, his wife and his daughter are missing.
Yeah, and we see like a scene where the guy's like, I'm worried about it, but like Leslie Nielsen basically is like, it's Clay. If there's the one thing we're connected, he pretty much pins it right away on him, don't you think?
No, I would argue the opposite, because like I would say the husband shows up and he's like, my wife and daughter are missing. 36 hours now. The only new person in town is this Clay character who has said he's bumped into a young woman, and they show him a photo, and Clay identifies the missing young woman as Nyla, who he met one of these nights. And this guy's just like, we have to arrest him. He's responsible for my missing wife and daughter. And Sheriff Leslie Nielsen's like, don't have enough evidence yet. I'm going to keep looking into it, but I don't like the Sheriff Leslie Nielsen is very slow to arrest him. He's a very meticulous small town sheriff.
Yeah, I guess my point is where like that's his only suspect, I guess, because he just keeps going at Clay. Like his thing is like that's the person he wants. But maybe I guess you have that.
You're
point
not wrong.
That
He's the only suspect. But in a small town, in this kind of movie, you usually expect him to like string them up immediately. He takes he's really like, I gotta make sure I got all. Like even his deputy's like, it's probably him, sir. And he's just like, we gotta find all the facts first.
Well, he likes jurisprudence.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, obviously Clay's telling everyone about these aliens. He's mad. He's like, there's this beautiful woman I'm falling in love with, Nyla, and her overlord, Noel. And then his wife's just like, are you dumb? Are you actually stupid? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, who are those two people you killed? And she's like, you mean Lillian and Leon? Oh shit, their names backwards. Oh.
Here's the thing. I like what just happened there. Would you have figured that out that quickly? Would you be like, wait a minute, those names are names of other people that we have had an interaction with, obviously a traumatic interaction, but like, I don't think I would have put together that fast.
Listen, as soon as I heard the alien's name was Noel, I would have had some question. I maybe not have A to beat it right away, but I think the Noel would have been my first, like, his name's Noel? Like Gallagher?
Well, I would have like, well, I I laughed because Noel too. It's just like, it's not exciting. Like, it should be like Zartok, you know?
The other thing is too, it's just like, just from a purely the writing of this movie, it's like, Noel, Leon. It'll be a real twist when we reveal that that's the turnaround. Why choose Lillian? Why not choose another name that also reverses into a real name?
I don't know.
Why is one of them Analia and the other one's Noel? I was like, what is that? I don't understand.
Oh, and we should say at this point, is this when we learn what the aliens are doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Have we said specifically what they're doing?
Pretty much that night they go out there and Clay this time just gets on the truck and no one stops him. I guess he could have just done that the whole time.
That was weird, right? No, because the first time he tries, someone bops him on the head and he gets like and the truck drives off. But yeah, this time he just gets in, he's like, I guess I'll just get on the truck, and they're like, yep, that works.
Yeah. And he goes out to the factory. They're rebuilding their spaceship. That's what everyone's doing at night.
Yeah.
There's kind of a shot of it, but it's evocative of nothing. Like I was like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, you don't really see much. But again, for anyone who hadn't listened to the Tommyknockers episode or seen Tommyknockers, don't watch it. It's not good. The similarities, like we have a main person who, our main character who has a brain injury,
plate in his head,
and then has
aliens
plate
can't control him.
Yeah, aliens can't control it because of the steel plate. Also, the aliens are here in Tommyknockers. The one slight difference is the ship it was there for a long time and they want it basically uncovered. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this, it's just
crashed.
We don't know how long. It had crashed not too long ago and it wants to get repaired. But it's so similar. The only real difference is that Stephen King didn't put his main character as an alcoholic twist on it. That's about it.
That's true. But yeah, no, it's so very similar. People are out there. They're refixing the ship for the aliens. Mm-hmm. Clay and Nyla make out a little bit in front of the ship, and then
as you do,
and then you finally meet Overlord Noel, who walks in, and it's Bumpkin Beanie. It's like, hi, it's me, Bumpkin Beanie. It's me, Noel. I was like, I forgot you were in this movie because you haven't been in it for like 40 minutes.
And I was like, at first I was like, wait, was he trying to pretend to be like a kind of like folk, like I don't know the term to use, like kind of like a simpleton? I'm like, no, he just coincidentally took the body of the simpleton.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's like, so why was he turning lights and stuff on? Well, because I thought that was going to be a thing later.
And this is my question too, is just like, is it that Noel's always in Beanie's body, so when he's walking around town, he's just pretending to be Beanie when he fondles the lights and turns on the lights, which was what Beanie does anyway? Or does he leave Beanie's body during the day and Beanie just reverts to normal Beanie during the day?
Or is him flicking the lights some sort of thing that he needs to do in terms of fixing the ship? Because I was like, I thought it was going to be something like that. Like, it was like, oh, the reason he flicks the lights is because he's signaling something. Like, I thought it was going to become a point later on, but it's not. You're right. Like, I don't know why they needed him to be this particular guy.
Either way, it raises the question, why is Nyla a missing girl? Why is she not just giving the body back during the day or just walking around like why is she missing?
Yeah, that's
Because then
right.
Beanie should be missing.
That's right. But I guess, yeah, you're right, because, yeah, I don't know. That's weird because, yeah, because I guess she's missing because she's always conscious of still being who she is in that body. So then I guess the answer has to be that he's pretending at all times. Like during the day, he's like, how exhausting. I got to be this guy who's got these.
And Nyla's
weird.
like, I can't act for shit, so I got to stay out of town.
She's like, I'll just stay. They're like, they're going to think you're missing. She's like, I can't pretend to be this person. He's like, I'll do it. Watch how easy it is. Look, watch. I'm flicking lights. Everyone thinks I'm a weirdo.
I mean, they also seem to be, because they took on the names of these dead people and reversed them. They're also psychic, so they know everything that's going on in everyone's brains. So it's just like I'm like, it should be very easy for you guys. Like you're clearly psychic. Anyway, whatever. Noel explains that they are a psychokinetic race that are almost all mind, and they can just borrow bodies when they need them. Noel would really love it if Clay would just chill. They're almost done, and they'll be gone soon. Just like, be cool, and this will all be over in a second.
Yeah.
And also, like, my alien laws prevent me from hurting you, so, just, like, be cool. I was like, all right, so this is all pretty, weird, but seems relatively harmless.
Yeah, just like, it's like, can you just wait? He's like, no.
The only one
can't.
really committing any sort of, like, kind of questionable, I guess it's questionable, obviously, to take everyone's bodies at night to rebuild your ship. But Nyla's taken some teenage daughter's body, and she's like, what if I rubbed it up against this guy? I think I might kiss him in this girl's body. I'm like, you're the one who's worse than Noel. You're actually worse than Noel.
Yeah, Clay doesn't come off too well either.
Anyway, Nayla's so funny. She's just like, she begs Noel. She's like, hey, can I just stay here in this body with Noel, with Clay, and just like hook up with him? And he's like, no. And he's like, all right, well, can we just take Clay with us when we leave? Can we take his conscience? He's like, no. And she turns to Clay and she's just like, I want you to decide to either you want to be with me or I'm going to be so mad at you. It's like, what's happening? She's like, I'm going to be filled with such hate that only human beings can have. I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
So, and obviously the reason they kind of really stress the point of him wanting to check out, is so like you're like later on, you're like, oh, I guess if he does go with her up to space, he did say he wanted to check out of
He wants
everything.
to not just drop out of everything. He wants to drop out of literally his own body.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, this is more than just being like, I don't want to be part of the rat race anymore. This is a big ask.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, the next day he wakes up. The husband and father of the two missing women is very upset that the sheriff still has not arrested Clay. He's even put together a good old-fashioned lynch mob.
Yeah.
In a scene that is truly bizarre, two kids with surfboards walking through what is clearly a field nowhere near any sort of ocean or lake stumble upon a dead body. It is the wife of this husband. She's dead in a field. So one of the missing women is found. And so the sheriff now definitely has to arrest him. Although what they find out is she died of natural causes of a heart attack in a field. Also never explained. Like, did Noel originally try to take her body, but she had a heart attack, so we had to get Beanie? None of it makes any sense.
Yeah, because that was the first thing I thought. I was like, well, why was she just in a random field by herself?
I don't know.
It's not like the guy eventually was like, she was running some errand and she has to walk through that field or something. But they're just like, yeah, she's just dead.
Well, that's it. The assumption is that, like, obviously Nayla took over one body, but what happened to I'm like, what happened to the wife then? I don't understand.
Yeah, it was just to have a something a reason to come
mystery.
arrest Clay.
But even still, he doesn't even arrest him. Sheriff Leslie Nielsen just brings him in for questioning and his own protection. And Clay, even in the interview, Clay just like he's just like, you want me to confess? Fine, I did it. I murdered her. I murdered them. Like, he gives a full confession, and Leslie Nielsen's just like, don't say that. Don't say that. I know that's not true. Don't say that. And I'm like, that sounded like a pretty honest confession to me.
And why did Clay confess? Because is it that he thinks there's no evidence, so let's just get to it? Because I was like,
he's just mad.
It seems like a weird thing to do.
He's just mad that they brought him in when he didn't do it. He's just like, oh, you just want me to confess? Like, fine, I confess. I killed them all, and I dropped her body in that field. And I'm just like, well, that's still like like you don't when you get brought in to be questioned, you don't get sarcastic with the officers and do a full confession.
If your name is Clay Howard, you do.
I guess maybe because he's a lawyer, he knows that if you're sarcastic, it doesn't count.
He might be a lawyer. We don't know.
We don't know. He might be a businessman. Anyway, whatever. All of it's so stupid. Anyways, the sheriff's just like, well, I still believe him not being the murderer for some reason. So he sends his deputy to go look for the spaceship that Clay won't stop talking about. Can't find it. Can't find that spaceship. Yeah. And then it's at this point that Matt pulls in his car. Night's falling. He's like, it's me, Matt. I'm a lawyer. And they're like, okay. He's like, I'm going to go sit in this chair over here for the rest of the movie. I'm like, bye, Matt.
Is this where he apologizes to sort of like denies the spaceship?
No. We've got 10 minutes left in the episode. Night falls again. There's one more nighttime where they all become night slaves again.
Oh, right.
He's locked in it. He's locked in a prison cell. Nyla comes in and she's just like, hey, Clay, this ship's almost done. We're going to leave in the morning. So let's you and me run away together right now so we can be together on Earth. She lets him out of the cell. They walk outside. They go to get in his sports car. And then the town just shows up and they're like, They just toss Matt back in the cell and take Nyla away. And I'm just like, okay, there's 10 minutes left in this movie. Like, what else? Like, I don't understand. And they wake up the next morning. The sheriff comes in, unlocks the cell, and he's just like, Leslie Nielsen's just like, well, you're free to go. I'm like, what? You haven't found the missing woman still. And he's like, and then like he says, and then Clay's just like, yeah, I just want to say, I made it all up. There's no aliens. I don't know what I was thinking when I said it. None of it was real. Thanks for your hospitality. I'll be leaving. He walks outside, gets in his sports car, and peels out of there with such aggression.
No, but what I like though is they say like, you're free to go. And he gives this all. He's like, I wasn't true. I made up the aliens and all this stuff. And they're like, all right. He gets his car and he peels away. And that fact that he drove away fast, Leslie Nielsen is like, I knew he was lying.
No.
He peeled away. He peeled away. Thus he's guilty. And I was like, oh, sorry, what? Because he drove away fast?
And then Leslie Nielsen chases him. His wife and Matt get in a different car. They also chase him. We have a chase scene, a boring chase scene.
Yeah, it's not well done.
Clay,
and it's also like, as you mentioned, there's probably like at this point like 5 minutes left.
I'm just like
you're watching like, guys, you got to wrap this up.
I'm also just like, what is I don't even know what the stakes are still. He stops at a random field, not where the spaceship was being built before, a random field.
Yeah, I know.
He runs in slow motion out to the field. Nyla's in the field. She runs in slow motion toward him. They embrace in the center of it. They cut away. Leslie Nielsen pulls up and he runs out into the field. He's like, where'd they go? And then he finds Clay's dead body on the ground. And the missing girl wakes up and she's like, I don't know what's happened. I've had a blackout for whatever. And they're like, well, she's alive at least, but this guy's dead. I wonder what happened. And then like a helicopter shot flying above them as I guess their consciousnesses leave the planet.
Yeah, he left. He left the rat race and his skin suit behind.
Dude, I mean, this is a classic movie trope where you meet you're a middle-aged man dropping out of the rat race. You meet a young woman who reignites your life, and you run off with her after 24 hours. Like, let's say this one's probably closer to 36 hours, like 3 days or something. You run off her. But in this one, it's just like, I also am going to throw away my body and go off with an alien consciousness. It's like, I'm like, dude, you're going to regret this instantaneously.
Yeah, they should have had a scene where, like, it's them, they're like essences and their spirits, they're floating around in this spaceship. And he's like, so when do we eat? And she's like, eat? And he's like, oh no, where,
Also, it doesn't explain. It's just like, so anybody's consciousness can just be like pulled into their body, because it sounds like this alien race evolved to have almost no body. He says almost. I was like, so how do you pull this human out? I was just like, none of this makes a lick of sense.
Luke, it's a happy ending. He got to get out of the rat race.
He fell in love with something. I don't know what. After 4 days, maybe less. He met her laughing in his room.
Would it be more interesting if they found out at the very end when he tried to like send his consciousness up to the spaceship that still, because he had that metal plate in his head, it couldn't happen, and they end up just killing him?
Oh, that'd be
and
good.
Then she just
his
flies
head
off.
just explodes.
She flies off by herself. Yeah, his head explodes, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot about the metal plate."
Also, she's a technician who apparently works under this overlord in a situation where she has no less free will than him. How does he, like, is he not just always like, oh, well, you're also now kind of my slave? No, you can't hook up with her. Like, that's not how this structural society works. I don't know why she told you about that dropout planet. I'm not going to let you go there.
I mean, that's for the sequel.
Insane, man. Insane.
It was a bizarre movie that a lot of it doesn't really work. And I'd be curious to know, if I read the book, how much of this is taken for the book, how much of this is the same series of events, or how much they were just like, oh, let's adapt this for TV and make it not work very well.
I have to assume there's just more details that they're like hinting at in the movie that like makes more sense potentially in the book. But like, that's the thing. It's like, it's a slow reveal. Every new reveal gives you new information, but every piece of new information makes less sense to what you already know. And then each new piece makes less sense once I'm like, well, that doesn't, I can't, like, it just, until the point you're just like, none of this makes any sense.
Well, let me ask you this. Having watched 2 movies now, this and Tommyknockers, which are very similar, if not almost the exact movie. There's obviously zigs where the other one zags.
Yeah, Tommyknockers is a horror film. This is a romantic drama.
Yeah, but the same bones.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
What do you prefer? Like, what do you think was a more effective? Like, I mean, it just as a story as a whole. Like, Tommyknockers was twice the length. So I think you got to give this points for that. That, as insane as it was, at least it was shorter.
It was like still weirdly still the problem with Tommyknockers. It was too long. This also too long.
Yeah, it was too long. Yeah, this could be 15 minutes.
I would say this. I think Tommyknockers does take the edge, if only because at least there's fun and games in that. Like, the townspeople making weird inventions and like. There's like fun in games that happen, whereas this is like they don't even have the budget to show you the alien spaceship, so you're just kind of just like told things. You're like, yeah, I'm like, okay.
It's a good point, and we didn't really talk about that very much, but this has a clear TV budget, which doesn't, not that like huge special effects would have changed this that much, because it's not like this had some fantastical journey, where you see this big space battle or something, but they're clearly limited in what they can and can't do. So you never get to see with the aliens. You never get to see the ship, really. You never get to see any real science fiction effects. So you have to sort of, they're off there somewhere. Don't worry about it, So, and it's like, it doesn't look like there's a lot of money behind it.
Well, and it's just relying on the ideas. The ideas really have to work to sell the rest of it, which is fine. Like, you can do that, no problem. I do think, though, like, just some weird choices, like, obviously low budget. They're like, here's the script. What standing set do we have right now? We'll go there and shoot in that small town set. No problem. It's got a real Western feel. Not a problem. Like, that could work. But were so insistent on the idea that the script says they're in California by the ocean. So let's constantly be like, Seaside Inn, Surfer Boys. I'm just like, you guys, this is so confused. Just cut out. Just have these 2 boys with sticks. Why they were so committed to executing this being by the ocean when they had no shots and they were clearly just in the middle of a desert. I was just like, anyway, that's nitpicky, but I think it speaks thematically to the show.
No, I think though it's a good point to the to make that there was weird things that they kept in that there wasn't any reason for. There's a whole lot of choice in this that you're like, why? Like, it seems nitpicky, and I guess to some extent it is, to say like, why keep mentioning the water? But you're like, right, it is a good point. Like, if you don't have the money, just change it in the script. Just change it in the script. This town's in the middle of California and it's in the desert. Okay, that's fine. It's not like the water had any reason. It's like not like signs or something,
Well, it's also like, last night you weren't walking with a cane. Oh, they're going to be super powered at night. And it's like, no, they're still the same. Why didn't she have a cane? I don't know. It was like a clue you could yell at her for. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
In the end, I'm glad that Matt, the lawyer, and the wife ended up together.
I am happiest for that wife. She is so much better off.
But we should say the last shot, really, other than the helicopter shot of them seemingly leaving, is of the wife being like, I'm not sure what to think anymore.
I don't know. I
like
know
that shot.
What just happened here?
She just like, and it was like the motivation for her was just like, look a little confused.
And then it cuts to Matt and he says, hey, did you have a chance to tell him? yet that we're together?
He's always just, she's like, she gets a call. She's like, what? My dad died? And he's like, did you tell him before he died? Did you ask him?
I did. Like, we didn't talk about it, but when she does call in midway through the show to ask him to come help her, while they're on the phone, he is like, hey, you didn't have to tell him yet, did you?
He's been waiting a long time.
It's been 3 years. That recovery easily was 3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's rate it. Let's get it over with. What do you want to give Night Slaves?
I just don't know where to land on this thing because, look, it's not very good. It's kind of silly, and the execution doesn't quite work. But there's something, I don't know why I found it kind of charming. I don't know if it was just like it's just so silly. I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It's not very good though.
You're a kind man. I don't know.
Yeah.
The enjoyment of it was too brief and in between, and ultimately too frustrating. I'm gonna go 3.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think either score's fine.
Your results will vary.
Yeah.
My favorite, while I was watching it, I was also scrolling through the YouTube comments because I was so bored. Very, very far down at there's a lot of YouTube comments on it too. A lot. And most people being like, I remember this, I watched this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Very close to the bottom, really near the bottom was a person just posted just like, I think it's pretty reprehensible he's cheating on his wife. I was just like, I gotta get. That's my favorite comment. Of all the things you took away from this, that was the thing you were most upset about. Anyway,
Yeah.
if you were upset he was cheating on his wife, you can email us continuumdrag@gmail.com. And on
If you're a businessman,
if you're a businessman who's tired of business and would like to drop out of business, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok to see clips from the show. There will be no special effects. There are none to be found.
yeah. What clips could you possibly pull?
I haven't done it yet. I don't know. I have some things written down. I think it might be Beanie, Fonzel, and some lights. I think.
Hey, you know what's good?
Leslie Nielsen.
The ABC Night at the Movies graphics. Those are pretty jazzy.
Oh, I didn't see the YouTube video I watched didn't have that. I'll go find it on a different cut though.
Yeah.
Good idea. But that wraps it up for the episode. So listener, thank you for joining us, and Jordan, see you on the next one.
I'll see you then.
Can't get enough Continuum Drag? Commission a bonus episode for charity.
Want us to watch an episode we missed after using the escape pod or during a best of run? No problem.
Is there an episode of a series we've never watched or a TV movie you want us to cover? You got it.
Wish we'd comment on your favorite movie, content, or other weird media? Sure, why not?
All you have to do is make a donation to one of the charities selected by past guests on our website.
We suggest a donation of $50 per television hour of content we're watching, but everyone's means are different, so give what you can.
Get all the details about bonus episodes for charity on our website, continuumdrag.podbean.com, or follow the links in our social media profiles.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Ontario, Canada, and Seoul, South Korea. Theme music by James Rick Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullick and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.